Okay, everyone, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today I have a really cool update for you from the brand Vaer. They were founded back in 2016 out of Venice, California, here in LA County in the good old US of A. And they pretty much started this brand because they couldn't afford the watches that they liked, and they really didn't like any of the watches that they could afford. So they used their life savings to bring their vision of the perfect everyday watch to life. And they're also proud to offer American assembly and testing options, throughout their line, which is pretty cool. In terms of the type of watch, this is a dive watch. Some key characteristics and design when you're looking for a diver. Of course, you're going to be looking for water resistance, typically with some type of screw down crown. You're going to want something that's tough, legible, with a dive time bezel and a diver's extension is always nice if on bracelet. This is their D5 Meridian Navy, and also it's the USA built automatic option with a 39 millimeter case. And this is pretty much their vision of the perfect everyday diver, which is simultaneously rugged and refined. And of course, with the added bonus of it being USA assembled. These go for $6.99 with the premium Jubilee bracelet, as you're going to see here. So a big thank you to Vaer for lending this one in. This is, of course, a loaner watch, so it's not in the most perfect condition, because I'm sure it's made its rounds throughout quite a few other sources, whether it be for photography or videography. But I'm really excited to share it with you guys, because this one really did stand out to me as something different in terms of their execution and the overall aesthetic. So this one is a cool one for sure. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay, guys, now as you can see, the general look here, of course, is going to be based on the famous Omega Seamaster, but there's definitely a lot of their own thing they have going on as well. One of the big differences, apart from the blue motif, you're going to notice is that it does have this matte aluminum insert here on the bezel versus the glossy black ceramic that you're going to see in more of their standard models. So this looks, I think, has a really nice look to it, and it really plays extremely well off of this dial. I definitely do dig, of course, the blue and gold motif. As a big Warriors fan, I like that these things flow together really, really well, but it's still very subdued, so it's not really too shouty or very specific. I think it's very versatile in terms of what you could wear. I mean, most blue jeans are going to have like a similar kind of gold colored stitch pattern and little brass kind of rivets on the pants. So this is something that will go, in terms of Americana, perfect white t-shirt, blue jeans type of wear, which is going to be extremely versatile, which I like a lot. Now, getting into some of the details, 39 millimeter diameter in the case, although you can see there is some overhang from the bezel. So you're going to get nice wrist presence while it actually having a smaller footprint on the wrist. And then only 13.8 millimeters thick. And you can see it breaks down its silhouette very nicely, kind of mid-case, top hat in terms of the bezel, and then, a little bit of crystal. And then, of course, a bit of underhang here from the screw down case back. And then we take a look on the other side. You see it's nicely signed, screw in crown there. And it does actually inset a touch. So you do get a little of extra protection, so it's not like your standard kind of crownless setup. I'm sorry, crown guardless setup. You do have a bit of an inset, so it is nested just a little bit in there, so it's going to give you that extra protection, as well as this little overhang probably gives you a little extra protection from above in terms of anything snagging onto your crown. So I can appreciate that. We're getting, of course, that double domed sapphire, which is nicely coated, and with that double dome, you can see very, very legible, which is fantastic. You can really get into there and look at the details, even at a super harsh angle. You're getting minimal distortion on here, which I really, really adore. So legibility with dive watches is huge. And then, of course, the overall just symmetry in the design, which this watch really, really nails. And it's something that, it's oddly enough, I haven't seen this watch, or at least this variation, really, featured too often, so I'm excited to bring it to you guys. This is, of course, just a loaner that Vaer sent in, so it's not in perfect condition, because I'm sure it's done its rounds in terms of photography and videography, so we'll get to that as we go, but just, this isn't going to be a pristine example of a brand new watch by any means. Getting into the bezel, really great action there. Super easy to turn, but not so easy that you're going to accidentally do anything. Great noise, great tactile engagement. A little bit of back play there, as you can see, but everything lines up. Fast or slow, this thing just works. So I dig that, and it lines up. And if you can't get it to line up perfectly, at least there's that small amount of play to where you could kind of back it in, or you know, whatever you need to do. But for me, this actually backs right onto the click, which for me is perfect. And then we get into, well, we already mentioned the screw down crown, so let's move on to the case back, which is screw in, and it also, of course, is like I mentioned, hey, this is not a brand new pristine piece. You can see the scuffs and scars there, but check that out. Really nice display case back. You can see also some etching to inscribe some other details about the watch. Inside, you're getting a Miyota 9039 no date movement, so that means there's going to be no ghost position, 40-hour power reserve, 4 hertz sweep, and the nice thing is it's actually regulated to -5 to +25 seconds per day, which isn't bad at all. And then we get into the dial itself, which I think is really the star of the show. You're getting that nice matte blue dial with these applied gilt indices, as well as these nicely brushed hands that are also gilt style as well. And then you're getting a really good grade of X1, C1, and 15 layers of that lume. So really great superluminova application. 20 meters of water resistance. 20 atmospheres of water resistance, which is 200 meters or 660 feet. 20 millimeter lug width. Premium Jubilee bracelet, which does offer you solid screw-in links. Also, you're getting quick release spring bars built in there. And then going over to the taper, it is a very nice taper, which tapers down to 16 millimeters, and then it's about 17 and a half for this nice svelte little clasp, which absolutely does the job. It's stamped in terms of kind of the construction, but it does have the milled folding section. So the nice things about when you do kind of a stamp style is that it's going to flow much nicer. It's not going to be quite as bulky, and it really goes with the more delicate nature of this particular bracelet, which is held together by screw pins, which a lot of you will like. This being a well-worn example, some seized up links and whatnot here and there. So I don't know how this will be on a brand new watch, but I would definitely be careful when you are sizing this. Even though you can size it on your own, use those little tricks like heating up, putting hot water on there to loosen up any type of grit before you, hopefully don't cross thread any type of the screws or anything like that. But, it does the job. You're getting the fold over, it's locking, and it's not in the way, so I like that. You're also getting a couple of positions of micro adjust there for you to manually apply. So with that said, let's actually get this piece on wrist and see how it wears. Okay guys, as you can see on my 7.5-inch wrist, this wears really well. Of course, if I get a little too close to the camera, you might get some lens distortion. It's going to make it appear a little bit larger. But what I'll do is I'll keep my hand away from the camera and I'll just tighten things up here so you guys can get a better idea of how this is going to render on your own wrist. And you can see it is nicely centered, and it just contours really, really well. Very organic flow on the wrist, which I can appreciate. So it just looks right at home. And again, even at a quick glance, although you're going to have a lot of those different hallmarks of, famous divers of the past, this by no means is a direct homage to one particular model. It definitely has its, its own vibe going on, which I can absolutely appreciate. So with that said, yeah, I dig this one. And then the taper is very nice as well on that bracelet. You can see it's not very top heavy. I can give it a quick shake or anything like that. It's not going anywhere. And with that 20 millimeter lug width, as well as those great quick release spring bars, means that I can throw this on a really nice NATO strap or any other combination, whether it be two-piece or single piece that's going to run underneath. Also, Vaer does offer quite a few different strap options. So if you want to have everything branded Vaer, you absolutely can, or you can use your favorite 20mm straps that you already have laying all around your place. So with that said, let's go ahead and get this piece off the wrist, set up for some loom shots, the light transition, and closing thoughts. All right, we'll go ahead and hit the lights here. As you can see, very nice loom, really well lit there, well applied. The pip, I would say, is just a shade darker in terms of its output, but all in all, very nice, even application. But one thing I always do like to work in, of course, is going to be that low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or just spending some time in your favorite automobile. So it's nice to see what these colors, finishes, textures, you know, how everything is going to render in less than optimal lighting. Maybe even include some harsh lighting, which typically could expose any type of production defects. But all you can see here is, of course, a little bit of wear from this being just kind of a traveling loaner piece here. But you can see that that loom holds up really well, and the contrast also holds up really well, and I really do enjoy that color play that you do get off of the aluminum insert versus, of course, a glossy black ceramic insert. So I think that was a really, really nice choice. And, you know, of course, for most people's needs, you don't necessarily need a ceramic insert. And if they were to do one that was a matte ceramic, I think it might have thrown off the aesthetic, especially with the gilt style where you're trying to get something that looks a little bit more old school. So I really appreciate that. And some of you might see that as a big downgrade, but for me, you know, if other big name brands like Tudor can still get away with it and charge you a lot more for something with an aluminum insert, or Seiko, you know, then there's clearly nothing really wrong with those for most people's use cases. I just really am enjoying the way the light flows over this one altogether. It is just a really cool, handsome piece that I hadn't seen too much coverage on. So I reached out to Vaer, and they were nice enough to oblige and comply and send this piece in to share with you guys. So closing thoughts, guys, classic 39mm diver dimensions. And I mean, if you're looking for something and you feel like that's your sweet spot, that 40mm 39mm space, this is absolutely that. Also with the 20mm lugs, I mean, whatever strap, whether it's a Marine National, single pass, a Tropic, you know, a two-piece of any kind, there's just so many options that are going to look fantastic with this pairing, especially in this color combination. So in terms of comparable models, you know, under $700, there's a lot of competition. It is very tough. But I think for people who like this aesthetic, as well as can appreciate that USA assembly, you know, counterpoint, I think this can be a really compelling package. You know, if you don't really care for USA assembly and you don't think it adds that much value, then you're probably, you know, you maybe won't add that as a nice bullet. But for those of us that are in the US, you know, I think that is a nice little piece there. So for me, guys, bottom line, this is a very versatile option that I think has a good amount of crossover appeal into different collecting demographics. So I could see this piece easily on somebody's wrist who is a lover and collector of micro brands, as well as somebody who's just kind of a mainstream person who's just looking for to capture a certain aesthetic, right? Whether it be kind of combining that Seamaster, Tudor, Black Bay, like something like that, but maybe they can't afford it, and they can have something that's going to really capture all of those pieces while still adding, I think, a lot of design value, because this thing is still pretty handsome. And then no date, you know, you get that symmetry, which is great. No, you know, and the movement is made to not have a date, so you're not getting a ghost position. So yeah, this for me is offering a lot, and I think it's a really cool piece, and I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do it like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.